Okay guys, we're going to continue the balance sheet. This is part 2. Now we're using the information that we calculated in the first video. So the first thing we're going to do is create a simple balance sheet, and we're using the horizontal balance sheet as our first balance sheet. Now the horizontal balance sheet uses the equation assets equal to capital plus liabilities. It is the cost equation. We just shift around capital and liabilities. Same equation. Now when you're doing your balance sheet, the first thing you write is your title, which is the name of the company, and underneath we put the statement balance sheet as at, and we put the month and the last day of the month and the year in which the transaction has occurred. So in this case we have J Neblett Enterprises Limited balance sheet as at May 31st 2018. Now in the horizontal balance sheet we do something like almost like a T account. So on the left hand side we have our assets, on the right hand side we have our capital and current liabilities. Now in the balance sheet we list our assets from the one that is hardest to turn to cash to the one that is easiest to turn to cash, or cash. So the shop is going to be our least liquidable asset, meaning that it is the hardest one to sell, to turn to cash if you wanted to get cash. If you have a shop and you want it's valued at $30,000 and you want to get back the $30,000, it may take you a little while before we get a buyer who's willing to pay the money that you want, or the value of the asset. Okay, so in this case then we list our shop as our first asset, which is the hardest one to sell, and that is worth $32,000, followed by our stock, which is worth $6,000, and our debitors. Now the reason why stock is harder to turn to cash than the debitors is because the debitors have already bought your stock, so you don't have to sell the stock, you just have to collect the money and they still will pay by that time. So this is a matter of collecting the money, so that's why it's easier to get the debitors into cash. Now the last thing is the bank, which is $25,600. Now we add up all of our assets to get our total assets, which will give you $64,000. Now on the other side of the balance sheet we have our capital and liabilities. Now we start off first with our capital. So our capital was J Neblett, and he invested $60,000 in the company. He hasn't withdrawn anything during the month for operations. And then our creditors. At the end of the month our accounts payable is $4,000. So we add up our capital and our liabilities, and we also get $64,000. So it shows you that the balance sheet is balanced. Now our next balance sheet is going to be the vertical balance sheet. Now the vertical balance sheet uses the accounts equation as in any balance sheet, but what we do is that we rearrange the equation. Instead of saying assets equals to liabilities plus cash, plus capital, we say now assets less liabilities, or assets take away liabilities, is equals to capital. So this is the equation we're going to use, and we're going to write the assets and liabilities and capital as of the equation in a vertical order. So with every balance sheet I told you, you start with your heading, and that is going to be the name of the company, and then the statement balance sheet as at May 31st, or balance sheet at the year ending such and such. Alright, so we list our assets again from least liquidable to most liquidable, and that means that we start with our shop, which is $32,000, and then we have our stock, which is $6,000, then we have our debitors, which is $400, followed by the bank, which is the cash that we have, and that is $25,600. We add up all of our assets to get our total assets, which should add up to $64,000. Now in this case we are now taking away the liabilities from the assets based on the equation that we had before. So less liabilities, which is our creditors, which is $4,000, and then we get our difference of $60,000. Now we deal with our capital, which is from Neblett, and Neblett invested $60,000, and as you see, our assets less liabilities is equals to our capital. Both of them are equal to $60,000. So our balance sheet is now balanced. Now the final thing we're going to look at is the detailed balance sheet. Now in this case it is not as detailed as a real balance sheet is, because we're not dealing with that much information, but we'll start to align the assets as fixed assets and current assets, as well as current liabilities and long-term liabilities. Okay, so the detailed balance sheet uses the same equation as a vertical balance sheet, which is assets take away liabilities is equals to capital, or assets less liabilities is equals to capital. Alright, so again we start off with the title, and then we list our assets based on fixed assets first. And a fixed asset is an asset that a company is going to have for a long time, the equipment that is used in making products and so forth, and the buildings and facilities in which it is housed. So a fixed asset usually assets that are going to be kept by the company for many years, at least over a year. So the shop, which is worth $32,000, now we list our fixed assets on the right hand side of the balance sheet, because in this case the fixed asset is only one fixed asset, so we don't have to calculate, we don't have to add them up. So we already know what our fixed asset is. It's only one, $32,000. Now our current liabilities, however, we have several current liabilities. These are several current assets. These are assets which the company is going to turn into cash in a short period of time, less than a year, less than 6 months. You want to get stock off your hand as fast as possible to buy more stock and get your cash rolling. So stock is going to be a current liability, as well as your debitors, because you want to make sure people owe you money, they pay your money within a few days, weeks, or within a month. You don't want to have people owe you money too long, because then you can have cash flow problems. Alright, so we start over here on the left hand side of the total columns, and we write our debitors, so that's $400, and our final current asset is the cash you have on hand. Now that's $25,600. So we add up our total, we total our current assets, which will give you $32,000. And remember, the equation said assets less liabilities is equals to capital, so therefore we have to take away our current liabilities from our current assets. And our current liabilities is our creditors at the end of the month, which is $4,000. So we take away that $4,000 from our total current assets, and now we get $28,000. Now we have no more calculations to do on this, on the assets and the liabilities, so we bring that over to the right hand side of the balance sheet. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to add up our fixed assets plus the difference of current liabilities, the difference of current assets, take away current liabilities. So that will give us $60,000. Now our capital is the money invested by J. Neblett, which is $60,000. So as we see, our assets take away liabilities is equals to our capital of $60,000. And that's simply put our balance sheets. Now in the next video I will address our ledger.